Welcome to the Deep Dive. And if you've ever stared at a foreign language dictionary and just felt that familiar wave of dread.
Oh, the sheer volume of it.
Yeah, exactly. The overwhelming volume of words you supposedly need to memorize just to, ask for a cup of coffee. Well, if that's you, you are in exactly the right place today.
You really are.
Because we have a very specific mission for this deep dive. We are looking at a highly practical, streamlined framework from my Spanish class. It's titled 50 Essential Spanish Verbs.
And we're going to use it to find the ultimate language learning shortcut.
Right. The core premise we are exploring today is just wonderfully freeing. You actually don't need to memorize thousands upon thousands of vocabulary words to communicate at a beginner, an A1 level. You just need the right words.
It is a radically efficient approach to language acquisition. I mean, instead of trying to brute force your way through an entire glossary, you focus entirely on high-impact foundational vocabulary.
Which is such a relief.
It is. And the framework uses this perfect analogy right at the outset. It refers to verbs as the engine of any sentence.
The engine. I love that.
Right, because if you master these specific engines, you suddenly have the horsepower to understand and produce a massive chunk of daily conversation. But to make this system work without overwhelming you, there is a very strict ground rule established right away in the text.
Yeah, we have to set some boundaries.
Exactly. Our focus today is entirely exclusively on the present simple tense.
Which means we are throwing out all the complicated, future perfect continuous structures for now. We're just living in the present simple.
Exactly. And there is a deeply strategic reason for that limitation. What's fascinating here is that the present simple is the absolute perfect starting line for A1 learners.
Because it grounds you in reality.
Right, the immediate reality. It allows you to do the three most crucial things you need when you first start interacting in a new language. You can describe your daily habits, you can state simple, undeniable facts, and you can talk about immediate actions.
It just keeps you focused on the right now. Yeah. Which is honestly where 80% of beginner conversations happen anyway.
Easily 80%.
So whether you are prepping for an upcoming trip to Mexico City, or you're just someone who loves deconstructing the mechanics of how human beings communicate, mastering these 50 specific engines is going to unlock a huge portion of the language for you.
It really is the skeleton key.
So let's get right into the mechanics of this. Okay, let's unpack this. My Spanish class starts us off with what they call the big three.
The absolute foundational engines.
Right, to be, to have, and to do or make.
You can think of these three as the heavy machinery of the language. Now, it is noted right away in the text that these three are irregular verbs.
Which means they break the rules.
Yeah, they don't follow the standard, predictable conjugation rules that we'll talk about a bit later. They are a bit stubborn.
But you absolutely have to know them.
You do, because they form the scaffolding of almost every single conversation you will ever have. So let's look at the first one, the concept of to be.
This one is huge.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of how Spanish operates, we see a fascinating linguistic split right out of the gate. Spanish actually takes the English concept of to be and divides it into two entirely separate verbs.
Ser and estar.
Exactly.
This is one of those concepts that just trips up so many native English speakers.
Yeah.
Because we just use I am for everything. I mean, I am tall, I'm at the store, I am sad. It's all the exact same engine for us.
Right. English uses a one-size-fits-all engine for existence, but Spanish requires more precision. It asks you to categorize the nature of your existence before you even speak.
Wow, that's almost philosophical.
It really is a philosophical distinction built right into the grammar. Ser is used for permanent identity or core characteristics. The example provided in the materials is Yo soy estudiante. I am a student.
You are establishing a foundational fact about who you are.
Precisely. Estar, on the other hand, is reserved for temporary states, conditions, or locations.
That makes perfect sense. So if I'm talking about a permanent character trait, I use ser. But if I'm just currently sitting in a cafe or I'm temporarily exhausted, I need to swap out the engine and use estar.
You've got it. It forces you to be much more intentional about what you're actually trying to say to the other person.
I love that. From there, we move to the second of the big three, to have, which is tenor.
Yes. And later in the framework, there are some very specific mechanical rules laid out for tenor. It is utilized specifically to indicate the quantity that a person possesses of something.
It is literally taking inventory of what you own or what you hold.
Right. The example provided is, Yo tengo un carro, I have a car. You are stating a quantity of possession.
Yes, and it's often followed by a number or an article indicating that quantity. You are stating definitively what belongs to you in that moment.
Exactly. And finally, rounding out the big three, we have the concept of to do or to make, which is covered by a single, highly versatile Spanish verb.
Hacer. And the example for this one is incredibly relatable for anyone currently studying. Yo hago mi tarea. I do my homework. But hacer seems like one of those universal utility tools.
It is a massive utility tool.
You use it to make things, to do activities. It just covers a lot of ground.
It acts as the primary engine of action when a more specific verb isn't required. So you have ser and estar to establish existence, you have tener to establish possession, and you have hacer to establish basic action.
Even though they are stubborn and irregular, these are your absolute foundation.
Yes. Once you have this basic infrastructure poured, you can start building out the rest of your world.
Which brings us to how we actually move around in that world. Because once you exist and you possess things, you have to navigate your physical environment.
That is where this next major category comes in.
Right, the list of 27 action and movement verbs. These are the engines that drive physical activities. To really see how these work, let's frame them around a hypothetical morning routine for you, the listener.
That's a great way to visualize it. And as we go through this routine, I want you to pay close attention to another pattern of linguistic splits.
Like ser and estar.
Just like that. We're going to see English concepts that feel like a single idea to us, but require entirely different verbs in Spanish depending on the exact context of the action.
Let's start the morning. You wake up, you get ready, and it's time to head out. Let's look at the English verb to leave.
Okay.
In English, I leave the house, and I also leave my keys on the counter. It's the exact same word. But my Spanish class splits this into two distinct verbs, salir and dejar.
Right. And the distinction is entirely about the physical mechanics of the action. You have to ask yourself, are you moving your own body or are you leaving an object behind?
Okay.
The example provided for moving yourself is salir. Salimos a las 8. We leave at 8 o'clock. You are physically exiting a space.
But if you were talking about leaving your keys on the counter,
Then you would use dejar, which is about abandoning or placing an object.
so I salir the apartment, but I dejar my umbrella by the door. That distinction is crucial. Okay, so we've left the house. Now I need to take the bus to work. The English verb to take gives us another split, tomar and levar.
Again, it comes right back down to the nature of the physical movement. The example for taking transit is yo tomo el autobús. I take the bus.
And tomar is also used for taking a drink, right? Like taking coffee.
Yes, exactly. Levar, however, implies transporting or carrying something from one place to another.
So I tomar the bus, but I levar my backpack with me.
You've got it. It's fascinating how the language forces you to be hyper-aware of your physical relationship to objects and spaces.
It really does. Let's keep moving through the day. We get to the office and maybe somebody hands us a package. The English concept of to get.
Oh, this is a big one.
It is such a catch-all, lazy word in English. I mean, I get tired, I get a coffee, I get a joke. But this framework splits it into obtainer and conseguir.
And this split is wonderfully nuanced because both deal with acquiring something, but the implication of effort is different.
How's it?
Well, the example provided grounds it in a physical action. Consigo un regalo. I get a gift. Conseguir often carries the implication of managing to get something, perhaps through some effort or some kind of active process.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, whereas obtainer is a slightly more direct, general translation of just obtaining an object.
You really can't just translate word for word in your head. You have to pause and ask yourself, what is the actual mechanical nature of the action I am performing right now?
And this raises an important question for any A1 learner. Are you trying to translate English into Spanish, or are you trying to actually speak Spanish?
That is a great point.
Learning these dual verb concepts early on breaks the habit of lazy translation. It wires your brain to choose the engine that precisely fits the vehicle.
Let's quickly hit another one from the outline that perfectly illustrates this, the concept of to play.
Yes. Jugar versus tocar.
In English, I play soccer and I play the guitar. Same word.
But entirely different physical mechanics. Jugar is for playing a sport or a game. The framework gives us jugamos football. We play soccer, but if you are physically interacting with an instrument, making music, you use tocar, which literally translates more closely to touching or handling.
So I jugar tennis, but I tocar the piano.
Precisely.
Let's rattle off a few more of these daily action engines just to complete our physical map. For to go, we have the incredibly common verb ir. Yo voy al parque. I go to the park.
Essential.
For ta, we have encontrar. Encuentro mi teléfono. I find my phone. And finally, the destination of our morning commute, to work, which is trabajar.
Yes, él trabaja en una oficina. He works in an office.
Let's actually pause on trabajar for a moment.
Good idea.
Because my Spanish class uses this specific verb to introduce some of the deeper structural rules of the language.
They do. The text has a dedicated section explaining that trabajar is used to state the location where a profession or trade is exercised. It's inherently tied to physical space, a neighborhood, a city, a country.
But more importantly, it uses trabajar as the prime example of a regular verb.
Right. Earlier we talked about how the big three were irregular and stubborn.
But trabajar is regular. And the framework introduces a very specific technical term for how this works, the lexema.
The lexema is the root of the word. According to the mechanics laid out here, regular verbs are those that can be conjugated without modifying that root.
The way I like to visualize the lexema is to think of it like the chassis of a car.
That's a great analogy.
The chassis is the solid, unmoving base. With a regular verb like trabajar, that chassis never changes shape. You are simply swapping out the tires depending on who happens to be driving the call and what time of day it is.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it. The lexema remains perfectly stable. You keep the engine block exactly the same, and the endings just adapt to each tense and mood.
For an A1 learner, this is a massive relief.
Oh, absolutely. It means you don't have to memorize a completely different word for every single person. You learn the chassis once, and then you just learn a small set of interchangeable tires.
It's beautifully mechanical. Okay, so we built our foundation with the big three. We've navigated the physical world, we've taken the bus, gotten our coffee, and arrived at work using our action and movement verbs.
But human beings don't just move objects around.
Exactly. We have an internal life. And that brings us to the second major category from the source, the 23 communication and mental verbs.
This is a crucial pivot in the learning process. We are shifting from the external physical environment to the internal world of thoughts, beliefs, and interactions.
These are the engines that allow an A1 learner to start expressing their actual worldview, rather than just stating where they are located.
And right out of the gate, we hit another linguistic split.
We do. For the English concept of to know, we are given two distinct Spanish verbs, saber and conocer.
The distinction here is vital. Saber is used for knowing concrete facts, information, or knowing how to do something.
The example used is, sé la respuesta. I know the answer.
Right, you possess a piece of data. Connoisseur, on the other hand, is about familiarity. It's used when you know a person, or you are familiar with a place or a piece of art.
So I saber the capital of Mexico, but I connoisseur my best friend.
Exactly.
Again, it's that required precision. You are categorizing the type of knowledge you hold. This shift into the mental space is so empowering because it moves you beyond basic survival language. We get verbs like pensar, which is to think.
Pienso que esa es una buena idea. I think it is a good idea.
You are forming and articulating opinions.
Exactly. Or creer, to believe. Creo en ti. I believe in you. You are suddenly capable of expressing trust and complex internal states.
If we look closely at how this category is structured, it's deliberate that mental verbs and communication verbs are grouped together.
There are two sides of the same coin. A thought is internal, but communication is how you project that internal thought out into the world for someone else to receive.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the framework gives us the exact engines for that interpersonal transaction. To project the thought, we have decir, which translates to say or to tell.
And the example provided is quite profound for a beginner guide. Digo la verdad, I see the truth.
And of course, interaction isn't just broadcasting your own thoughts. It requires receiving information from others.
So we have the verb preguntar, to ask.
The example here is hago una pregunta, I ask a question. Now wait a minute, notice what happened there mechanically.
With hago.
Yeah, hago. That's from hacer.
Yes, it is.
One of our big three foundational engines. To make or to do.
Exactly. Literally translated, the example is, I make a question. It demonstrates perfectly how those foundational big three verbs constantly weave their way back into the more complex daily interactions.
That interconnectivity is brilliant. It shows how tight this system of 50 verbs really is. Everything supports everything else.
It's a closed loop of efficiency.
And that brings us to the ultimate communication verb, which has a dedicated rules section of its own in the text. Hablar, to speak.
The mechanics laid out for hablar are very specific. It is defined as a regular verb. So once again, that lexema, that car chassis we talked about, it stays completely intact.
Right.
But crucially, the framework defines its use not just as making noise, but specifically as being utilized to have a conversation with a person about something.
It's inherently connective.
Yes. And structurally, it notes that hablar is generally followed by the preposition con, meaning with. You don't just speak into a void, you speak with someone.
It implies a community.
It does.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner listening right now? We have mapped out these 50 essential engines. You have the big 3 for foundation.
You have the action verbs to move through your day, keeping an eye out for those tricky double meanings.
You have the mental verbs to express your thoughts, and the communication verbs to share them. You understand how a regular lexema works.
But staring at a breakdown of 50 verbs doesn't magically make you fluent.
Theory is great, but how do you drive the car?
Knowledge is most valuable when it is deeply understood and actively applied. A meticulously organized list of engines sitting on a factory floor doesn't actually transport anyone anywhere until you drop them into a chassis and hit the gas pedal.
And my Spanish class actually provides a very specific pathway for this application. Woven into the materials is a strong recommendation to engage with a global resource known as the Se Habla community.
This is perhaps the most vital piece of the entire learning puzzle. The framework highlights Se Habla as a dedicated space gathering people specifically for English and Spanish language exchange.
It's an established community with 5 years of history designed around learning and making friends from all over the world.
It's the physical, real-world embodiment of the word con that follows the verb hablar.
It's the with.
Precisely. And this highlights a fundamental truth about human language acquisition that we often forget when we're buried in textbooks. You can study the grammatical mechanics of trabar and pensar in isolation for months.
You can perfectly memorize the difference between saber and connoisseur.
But until you are actually sitting across from another human being, even just a face on a screen, trying to use those specific verbs to connect, to ask a question, to express a belief, you are only doing half the work.
A language exchange community is the exact environment where those 50 essential verbs transition from abstract theory into genuine, messy, beautiful human communication.
And from a psychological standpoint, joining a community like that completely takes the pressure off.
Oh, for sure. We've all had that paralyzing moment where we are staring blankly at a barista because we suddenly can't remember if we should use tumar or levar for our coffee.
A language exchange space is built specifically for that kind of stumbling. You don't have to be perfect, you just need enough of the engine to get your point across.
It creates a psychologically safe laboratory to test out these A1 concepts.
It's the place where you try using consigliere instead of optiner and just see how the native speaker reacts.
It's where you practice keeping the lexema of your regular verbs stable while navigating the unpredictable flow of a real conversation.
Exactly.
So to synthesize all of this and give you the ultimate shortcut to walk away with today, do not let the dictionary overwhelm you.
You don't need thousands of vocabulary flashcards to start living in the language right now.
Focus your energy squarely on the present simple tense. Master the heavy machinery of the big threeser in Istar, Tenor, and Hacer.
Map out your physical reality with those action and movement verbs, paying very close attention to the philosophical splits in words like to leave or to take.
And finally, build out your internal worldview and your ability to connect using the communication and mental verbs. 50 engines. That is your starting line.
It is a highly efficient, rigorously structured roadmap. But before we finish, there is one final recurring grammatical note buried in the detailed rule sections of the source text that we haven't touched on yet.
Right.
And frankly, it raises a fascinating linguistic mystery. In the specific rule breakdowns for the verbs hablar, tenor, vivir, which is to live and trabajar, the text specifically states the exact same mechanical rule for all of them.
Which is?
The verb can or cannot be preceded by the personal pronoun.
Wait, hold on. It says you can just drop the personal pronoun entirely. You don't even have to say I or you.
That is exactly what the framework outlines. The pronoun is entirely optional. I want you to think about that as you process everything we've discussed today.
Okay.
Why might the Spanish language be structured in such a way that the verb, the engine of the sentence itself, is so incredibly strong and so clearly defined by its ending that you can actually afford to drop the I, or the you, or the we entirely and still be perfectly understood?
That is wild.
What does that say about the sheer power and importance of the verb in this language? It's a structural mystery, a little piece of grammatical elegance for you to ponder as you step out into the world and start practicing.
I absolutely love that. The engine of the sentence is so robust, so finely tuned, that it doesn't even need you to announce who is in the driver's seat. The verb does all the talking.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the 50 essential Spanish verbs. We hope you feel a little less overwhelmed by the dictionary and a lot more empowered to start building your sentences. Get out there, find your community, drop those engines into gear, and start speaking. We will see you next time.